Hi teachers, let me show you what I would do to adapt lesson 9 verses 21 through 26 of the Joseph Smith history. I would start out first of all by, instead of singing a hymn, I would play this song by Shauna Edwards called Restored. I would actually leave the lyrics of the song up and invite them to think about these powerful lyrics as they listen to this song, and be prepared to share with their neighbor or with the class what stood out to them as they listen to this song. By the way, I reached out to Shauna Edwards. I asked her if I could just embed this video right into the PowerPoint, and she gave me authorization to do that, assuming that none of you are going to download it and keep it for your own personal use. Or in the notes section of the slide, I have a link to her website. If you haven't ever been there, I encourage you to go there and subscribe. She produces amazing music. But I've played this song a lot before meetings, before classes, and it just always invites the spirit in so strong, and it goes so good with what we're going to be talking about today. So I do that for the opening hymn. I would then ask the students, what's a physical item that you own that's really, really special to you? Give them a minute to think about it, and then have them turn to a neighbor and share with them the first thing that came to their mind. A physical object they really feel strong about this for whatever reason, sentimental reasons or because of the cost. And then ask them, would you ever allow a dog to play with this special item that you just named? Would you ever allow a pig to play with this in the mud? And after getting a couple of their responses, I would then say, what did Jesus teach about giving special things to pigs and dogs? And have them turn to Matthew chapter 7, verse 6 to see where he teaches to be careful about giving our pearls to dogs and swine, because they will trample them. They'll trample them and they'll rend them. And so you can put the definitions for both of those up there, the literal meaning of trample and the metaphorical meaning. And then rend, the literal meaning and the figurative meaning. And so, of course, we're not going to give those special things to dogs or pigs, and yet have them jump into Joseph Smith History, chapter 1, 21 through 23, looking for what was the pearl that Joseph gave to somebody. And of course, as they read, they'll see the pearl was his experience with seeing God the Father and Jesus Christ, as he shared that with the religious professors of the day, the pastors and the preachers. And then have them look for evidence that what he shared with them was trampled under their feet, according to that definition right there, treating it with disregard, disrespect, or without care, or rending, to cause division, separation, or intense emotional pain. And I just put one other sentence in there, and that is, in some of the biblical translations, it says that rend means to actually attack. So if you give these things to pigs and to dogs, they will not only trample them under their feet, but then they'll also actually turn and attack you for what you've shared with them. And we see that real clearly in the Joseph Smith history right here. Shift gears then and invite them to think about when Jesus Christ experienced trampling or rending, and allow them to share for a minute. You'll notice the two scripture references right there, both from 1 Nephi 19, where we get this imagery that Nephi paints in our mind of people taking things which are sacred and trampling them under their feet. Even Jesus Christ, he talks about they trampled under their feet. And then in verse 9, where he talks about how they rend him, literally, they physically tore or ripped him into pieces, as he describes right there, because of his loving kindness towards the children of men. I love these verses from Nephi. And then shift gears to your students and ask them, have you ever experienced a time where you were persecuted because of what you believed? And how did you respond? Joseph experienced it. Jesus experienced it. Certainly you're going to experience it. And invite them to share some examples of that. Then this powerful teaching from Jesus Christ out of the Sermon on the Mount, where he teaches us how to respond to such persecution, where he says, consider yourself blessed when people persecute you, when they revile you and say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. He said, rejoice and be glad. You're in great company when that happens to you, for so persecuted they the prophets which went before you, and even the Savior himself. I have this great video clip. It's 1.5 minutes of Elder Holland addressing the youth about when they experience persecution. And he bears such a powerful witness of how to handle that, and that it'll strengthen their testimonies as they deal with it in the right way. And so play that little clip. So that's how I would adapt the teacher's manual.
With that.
I would then springboard into exactly what they have there in the teacher's manual, and that is to look through verses 24 through 26 and mark words that Joseph shares that talk about affirming the truth of the fact that he had this vision, and any lessons that they can draw or truths that they can draw from these things that Joseph shares in these verses. I would then go into have him mark verse 26. As a result of this whole experience in the sacred grove, what's his conclusion as to what he found to be true? And then play this clip by Elder Kyle S. McKay that's just from this past General Conference in October. It is, in my mind, one of the most powerful witnesses of the prophet Joseph Smith. The whole talk is. Listen to it before you teach this lesson if you have time. It'll strengthen your testimony of the prophet Joseph Smith. I love Elder McKay. I love his witness of the prophet Joseph Smith. But these couple of paragraphs that I clipped right here are directed right to the youth and what Joseph learned as he went into the sacred grove, what his takeaway was. Then this is going to take a little bit of advanced preparation, but if you have the chance to do this, invite one of your students to get up in front of the class at that point in time and to share the story of the first vision using verse 16 and 17, quoting the prophet directly right from those verses as they teach about the first vision, and have them quote that and then share their own testimonies of the first vision. I used to do this in Institute, and it was a little bit easier because I had classrooms full of returned missionaries who could quote the first vision. As a matter of fact, one class I had with about 80 students in it, we had them get up and share the first vision in the language that they had shared it in on their mission. In one class, we had 11 different languages spoken by students, including English. We had all the English-speaking students get up and share it, but one by one, they went through and just shared, starting with, I saw a pillar of light exactly over my head above the brightness of the sun. And every time that brings in such an amazing spirit into the room. And so for one of your students to be able to bear that testimony and to share those verses, and then for you to share your witness after that of the truthfulness of this vision and how you know it to be true, I would then give them time, as it says in the teacher's manual, just to go into their journal and to write the words of these two verses, starting with, I saw a pillar of light, and just to invite them as they write to reflect upon these powerful words. One of the things that you can testify of is that, and I witnessed this on my mission again and again, is that no matter where you're at when you share this witness, it seemed that the Spirit just always came in and bore witness to this most important event in these last days. So whether I was in the laundromat or on a bus or walking down the street, talking to college students on campus, when we got to this part of the message and shared this simple truth in Joseph's own words, the Spirit always came in so strong. So have them reflect on how they felt today as they heard that witness from their fellow student or from you, or how they felt as they read these words, and have them record that in their journal. I love this origin video. If you have time to show it, it's powerful as it walks through in Joseph's own words, his experience with wrestling until he came to know for himself that God answers the prayer of a teenage boy. This quote from Neil L. Anderson talks about different ways that we can gain a witness of Joseph's experience in the sacred grove. And you could even ask students, have you had one of these particular experiences that helped you to know the truthfulness of the first vision? And for those of you who may not have a witness, you could share with them, these are some different ways that you can gain that witness. Last but not least, again, if you didn't give them that time previously, have them take a minute and record in their journal what the first vision means to them personally, and how it has been a blessing in their lives. All right, last of all, if you like some of the things that I've done here to adapt, after adopting the curriculum, some of the adaptations that I've made, let me show you where to get that PowerPoint. When you come into the Google Drive and click on Doctrine and Covenants Lessons, in this case, you're going to go to lesson number 9. So when you come into this folder, you'll see the Google Slides lesson and the PowerPoint lesson. This is just as it is right in the teacher's manual. If you like some of the things that I did to adapt it, I will include this Lesson Gem PowerPoint and this Lesson Gems Google Slide. Remember, again, with the PowerPoint, you have to download it to your computer first before you can make changes. And with the Google Slides, you have to make a copy of it and save it to somewhere on your computer before it'll allow you to adapt it. I did go into the Google Slides and I included all the videos back in there. I hope this works, and I hope you have a powerful experience. I hope some of your students gain a witness for themselves. You talk about these sacred experiences of the truthfulness of these events. I just testify to you, I've felt that witness again and again, not only when I've taught it, when I've been there in the sacred grove, and even as I read this account once again this morning. Thanks, teachers.